I'm Maggie. Welcome to aliencherry.studio. Awesome to have you with me. Today, I'm excited to start a new project centered around classic space. So let's get going. Like so many in the LEGO community, I adore classic space. I have really fond memories of exploring, made-up moons and planets with my cousin's hand-me-down sets. And that's one of the things I really love about classic space. It explores themes of survival, science, and exploration rather than direct conflict, which are some of my favorite themes to explore in sci-fi. Combine that with the retro 50s space race, that's an absolute winner in my book. I am glad that LEGO has, at least partially, resurrected the entire theme in 2014's The LEGO Movie and 2019's The Second Part. I fully admit Benny hit me right in the nostalgia, from that scratched and faded classic space logo to the cracked helmet. Honestly, all my memories from early childhood came flooding back. And that's just as LEGO intended, I'm sure. I had to go and buy Benny's Space Squad as a result. I love that this helped me reconnect with my childhood self, bringing those really hazy early memories back into a clear focus. So now that I'm older and thus have a bit more experience under my belt, I want to make a display for all the classic spacemen LEGO have created over the years. Now, I'm far from the first person to think of this. A popular option is to modify 40516, Everyone is Awesome, to make every spaceman awesome, and I really love this idea. But not only has it been done better by other builders, it's not exactly what I had in mind. I want to embrace the space theme more overtly. Another popular way to display minifigs are in small dioramas, and I'm really inspired by these monochrome vignettes by Kaz Mockett. They're so beautiful. But I really want the spacemen to be the stars, not just their color. So I am going to create some dioramas, but I'm going to treat each one as a capsule or a pod in a space station. And for that, I'm going to take inspiration from LEGO themselves with the set 20108, the Lunar New Year traditions. Here we have little habitats, and they connect to a central pillar. When I first saw this, I honestly thought it looked a bit like Space Station. The shape of these habitats are perfect, with the rounded edges fitting into a retro-futuristic design. So this is going to be my starting point. However, we do have a few complications and limitations to consider. LEGO have made 15 different colors of space torso to date, and I don't have all of them. Unfortunately, quite a few figures or parts are retired, and that means they go for astronomical prices on the aftermarket. Now, I could technically fork over hundreds of pounds to perfect my Spaceman collection, but that would put quite a squeeze on my limited LEGO budget. Besides, not every torso has matching helmets and air tanks in the same color, so we'd be stuck with limitations anyway. So, let's find some creative solutions instead. I'm going to start by doing some art journaling to kind of get myself into the mood and kindle some ideas. One of the things I want to accomplish with this is to create a kind of quasi-realistic universe for these classic spacemen. So I'm going to let myself be influenced, but not constrained, by things like real-life space organizations, occupations, and history. What established LEGO lore there is, so things like the box art, video games, and of course the LEGO movie. The space figures color palette and what elements I have available, as well as what limitations there are. We're going to have to think about how to disguise those missing spaceman elements. And finally, puns and in-jokes, because what's the point if it's not fun? I think one of the things I'm going to do is give every spaceman a name, and in the tradition of Benny, Lenny, Jenny, and Kenny from Benny's Space Squad, I think every name's going to have to end in that sort of ni or e sound, because, well, just because. I'm going to start with Benny, the classic blue spaceman, as he rekindled my love of classic space in the first place. Looking at what influences we have from LEGO already, modern space sets have minifigures in blue or dark blue spacesuits steering or piloting spaceships. And in the LEGO movie, Benny quite famously loves spaceships.
Spaceship, spaceship, spaceship.
And I love that continuity from the classic to the modern era. I think it's only right we continue to keep Benny as some sort of pilot. I mean, imagine his sadness if we did otherwise. Now, there are lots of different types of pilot and pilot-related jobs in real-life space exploration. In the early years, they were mostly military test pilots, someone who flies new and modified aircraft, and they perform checks on everything from safety to handling in that role. However, as missions became more focused on specific goals, more specialized roles were introduced. In the Apollo missions, for example, there was an overall commander, who was also the main pilot, as well as command module, lunar module, and docking module pilots. These days, the pilot is usually separate to the overall commander of the mission, and there are flight engineers who assist with navigation, pilots who specialize in connecting up to the International Space Station, and pilots for specific mission needs. So what type of pilot should Benny be? As we all know, Benny here has a scratched up torso. Printing used for early figures was prone to fading and rubbing off. Now, helmets in this era as well were prone to cracking, as the chin strap was really delicate due to the way it was moulded. And whilst I do actually have an uncracked helmet for Benny, I just think the cracked one suits him better. So with these constraints, we need an in-universe reason why Benny is so scratched and beaten up. And my first thought is, he must crash a lot. Although Benny in the LEGO movie is seen to be a good pilot. So, if we take everything under consideration, I think it's only right that Benny is a test pilot who specializes in exploration of the unknown. And with that done, it's time to switch from paper to plastic. As I mentioned earlier, I think the shape of the habitats in our inspiration set is perfect as is, so I'm just going to adjust the colors. I'm going to use white and grey to support the idea that this is a unified space station, and that should make every spaceman pop against the backdrop. I'm also going to expand the color palette to include not just the spaceman's color, but the color family for a bit more contrast and interest. And I know what you're thinking, what about the white and grey spacemen? Yeah, that's a problem for future Maggie. For Benny, I am going to stick to just the classic blue. Actually no, I'm going to throw out my established rules and add in transparent yellow as a throwback to the classic spaceships of the 80s, because why not create a rule and break it immediately? Now, I think these white masonry bricks in reverse give a really cool textured look, and that reminds me of the panels on the real International Space Station. I'm going to add in a viewing window. I honestly feel like Benny needs a lot of supervision to not go completely off the rails and wreck the training ship. And of course we need some greebling or extra texture for interest. I mentioned a training ship earlier, so let's build that now so Benny can practice flying and crashing to his heart's content.
Oh, look at all these spaceship buttons.
The classic smile is an icon. However, one of my inspirations, the Lego Movie, brought us new expressions that retain that classic charm, and I think that will really help breathe more personality into these classic spacemen. Besides, Benny's just not Benny if he's not hyper excited about flying a spaceship.
I can build a spaceship! 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 Spaceship!
I'm really happy with the way Benny turned out, and I'm really excited to start building habitats for the other spacemen and expand this sort of universe. So you might be wondering, who's up next? Truthfully, I don't know. I was considering a structured approach, first release date, rainbow color order, or alphabetical. But I've started with Benny the Blue, and he's first in none of those things. So, what to do? Well, LEGO have recently released 2 new spaceman colors in set 21358, the minifigure mending machine. So why not use this set to inject a little randomness into the mix and let it decide who the next habitat will be built for. I will be interweaving this series amongst the other projects I'm working on, so if you enjoyed this, please let me know by commenting and subscribing, and you'll probably want to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out. Have yourself an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.